Hello, everybody. I need to put that flag higher. Welcome aboard. And we are live with a few little things we're going to talk about. Let me just I'm going to change the angle like this. Here we go. And it looks crooked, really crooked like that. So, anyways, we'll have that flag a little higher. Then I like it like this better. There we go. Let's put it like that. Okay, welcome aboard, everybody, and hope that I'm not gonna have some half hour of just quietness like the other day. I'm gonna be checking that out for sure. We're gonna check here, make sure that everything's all right. And hello, everyone. Hope that everybody's all right. I've got a laptop with this chat room there, so maybe it's going to be a little better. Let's. There we go. So, hey, everyone, welcome aboard. And this is, of course, the live show where we talk about radio and have fun with radio. And we're going to particularly talk in a few moments about this new little thing that I've got here. This nice little Sea Crane 2E. And had the occasion to play with it a little bit yesterday, but we'll play with it even more today after the show tonight. And of course, through the weekend. So I hope that you're going to enjoy that and enjoy the videos. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we are here live to talk about radio and radio waves and everything radio in general. And we just are here with to have fun as a gang of radio fans. Solitary hobby. We say it all the time. Well, this is the occasion and the time for us all to be together and not be alone in what is our hobby. Radios of choice tuning today. I have the AirSpy HF Plus on the laptop, and I've got the ATS 25 right here, powered up and ready to work. So these are the radios of choice for today that we're going to use to tune around and see if anything's live or online that we might find interesting to check out. So my name is Gilles, and I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are live twice a week on Thursday UTC time. That's Wednesday evening in North America at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's 0 hours Universal time. And we are live on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 20 hours UTC. Talk about radio and just have fun. There's a chat room that you can join if you wish to say hello and join in a great conversation with everybody. This is the place for a lot of newbie questions, for a lot of people that want to just interact and, find other great guys that share the same passion for radio that we do all share together, and in a great spirit of fun and respect, which is really nice. And when this is over, if you have some form of hangover or some form of withdrawal syndrome of not having this anymore, well, there's a Facebook group, and the Facebook group has the same name as the channel here, official SWL channel. 2,200 and some members, 2,300 almost. So lots of people there sharing what they listen to, what they like, and what, showing the radios and videos of reception of stations and asking questions and just once again having fun in a very respectful way. And it's a lot of fun to have all of that going on and have everybody around. So I hope that you can join in and that you can just have fun on radio with other people, and it's kind of cool. Wish that, but way back in 1982 when I started, I say it all the time. I wish that there was something like this that I could have some help. Sorry, I would have been probably the quiet guy that doesn't talk much, believe it or not. But I would still be enjoying, joining in, and like a lot of people. I mean, when you look at the amount of people watching versus the amount of people interacting, the majority of people do not interact or do not, are not in the chat room, but are there watching. And I think that's the majority of people are kind of a silent majority, which is fine. I mean, we don't have to. You don't have to, interact and absolutely have to talk to everybody. But I know that a lot of people are out there, and thanks for everything. I want to thank a couple. There's a couple of people, and you know who you are, that for some reason I haven't talked about it in a long time, but I've sent a few donations through the PayPal account. So thank you so much for that. And well, I'm keeping it there for my next radio purchase, and we'll see what's going to be the next radio, and any other device that I might want to buy to check out for you guys' enjoyment at the same time. So, hello everybody. Nice to have you here and have the familiar names. We have Gary 24 fan. Nice to have you on board from northern Maine. Sunny but cold here. It's now the snow has stopped, but it was snowing earlier, and actually now we went from this morning was pretty much all the snow is all gone. Now it's all white again on the grass and on the even on the sidewalk. We're supposed to have some form of snowstorm, but here in Montreal, we're going to have some snow, but it's going to change into rain on Monday, and temperature is going to go higher. But apparently, just north of the St. Lawrence River, there could be up to a foot of snow. So first big storm coming through, and hopefully we will have a white Christmas if all goes well. It's not. It's funny because we have these big storms and everything, and people was like, well, you probably don't have any problems with white Christmas. Well, it's not given that we have absolutely a white Christmas. And actually, as the years have gone by, we see that the global warming is showing up. We're having more and more difficulty getting a white Christmas, and it snows later. There was I think it was at the Weather Channel. They were saying that we are having snow in Montreal something like 2 weeks later now than 50 years ago. In the Before the Christmas or the holiday season and so on, and that in the spring actually the snow on the ground melts about 2 weeks earlier than it did 50 years ago. So they say we see that there's a change, and it's actually accelerating. We're having more and more of these snowstorms that change into rain or ice rain in Montreal than in the past. Just look at the storm coming through. I mean, it was -12 last night here in Montreal, which was pretty cold. But it's going to go to +8 on Monday with rain. So, it's like we have these really weird moments where, yeah, it's cold. We get a little snow. Then we get these really warm temperatures and it rains. And that's been a lot more frequent in the last winters where, having a real snowstorm that is just snow doesn't happen as often as it used to. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. Bobby Burgess in Morgan City, Louisiana. We'll check the email before I forget because I always forget. And we have Elizabeth saying hello from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And she is saying that she will be following and listening to the show tonight. And thank you for all you do. And we have Richard Lemke in St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. And the radio is a JRC NRD 535. HF, which is really cool with a random long wire in a tree. Long wires in the tree, so this is cool. And it says, spread the word, Knights of Columbus. This is what I do in my spare time. Knights of Columbus, Brother Richard. So nice to have you on board, and hope that everybody will enjoy the show tonight. The Blind Picker, nice to have you on board, Rob, W0RAB. Rob, in Rob Fiducia in Phoenix, Arizona, also. Nice to have you here. Hey, Rob. Seems to be a popular name. Dwayne, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. Larry Gilmore, nice to have you here. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board. And says, let's hope not to have great silence today. I'll be actually looking at that audio indicator a little more. I've actually positioned it so that it's in my face. So if it does cut off, I'll immediately see it on the screen. And I'll probably be obsessed in watching it. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here from rural Virginia. We have, and don't forget, WF7I Homebrew says, looking for the meetup tonight. So there will be the official SWL channel net. So thanks to you guys that decided to start this, and hopefully in the next weeks, at some point, I might be even able to join. 7245 lower sideband plus or minus 5 kilohertz, of course, depending on if there's people on the frequency. So if you guys want to, all you hams out there that want to join the official SWL channel net, I'll be monitoring here from my my radios. Hopefully, we'll hear a few of you, and thanks for doing this. It's kind of cool. René Charbonnier from Radio Classic Sunday. Nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. RJDA Dakota. Nice to have you on board. Rufus. Nice to have you here from the snowy Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Nick Sharp. Nice to have you on board from Southern England, UK. Christian Marcoux, salut. J'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you here from North Bay, Ontario. Robert Cross. Nice to have you here. We have PLF Radio, bonjour, j'espère que ça va bien en France et que tout se passe bien côté météo et tout le reste. Nice to have you here from Lyon in France. David, KJ4CMY. No, that's not the same David. David, EA3IEK. And EA4998URE in Barcelona, Spain. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? Hi, Brawler. Nice to have you here from Northeast Arkansas. Artist Other Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Just finished putting extra insulation into the realistic MC1000 speakers. Thrilled. Previous owner recapped crossovers. Cool. Andy New, nice to have you here from the UK, MH3007SWL. We have, it just needs to be higher. I almost did earlier. I said, maybe it's a little low. Well, it is a little low. I'm going to put it much higher for the next show. Try to have some background, and it looks darn crooked right now. So that also we're going to change. But part of the crookedness of the picture goes with the fact that my camera isn't straight up here in my face. It's at an angle also. So the effect of the flag is even worse with the camera's angle. TVDXer, salut, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Nice to have you here. I just had a crouch in. Oh, is that the Seacrane 2E? Absolutely. Rob, like the pirate flag on the wall, helps on the on-air sign. Yeah, that's what I thought. Look at how beautiful the on-the-air sign now is. When actually with a black background. So that's why I thought I'm going to put the flag up, and I'm going to put the on the air sign on the black part of the flag. It's going to be perfect. So for the next show, I'm going to put the flag maybe like up to this height, a little more. And I'm going to put the on air sign maybe a little higher, like somewhere here. So it's going to be like a very nice, and it's nice to see it well, because I didn't like the fact that I could not really see it very well. Brent, nice to have you on board from Brockville, Ontario, Canada. And yes, I am doing well. PLF Regis says great videos on your new C crane and the Degen 1103 PLL version. And we're going to talk about that because there's some interesting stuff that we're going to talk about with the new radio. Neil from the UK, nice to have you on board. Dwight, nice to have you here from Coastal Virginia, WA4532 SWL. And we have Sheldon Harvey from Greenfield Park, Quebec, probably working very hard to finish the Messenger for December, which is to come out very soon. And Bartrina, nice to have you here. Says propagation not so good, or as good as I would like to be. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I'm checking out here. I have some. Actually, I don't know if you guys hear in the background a slight chirp, but I have the radio. The SDR is set on 4450, and I'm getting the CODAR, the ocean wave radar. I'm not Chuck. Nice to have you here from Tennessee, KJ4FX. What else? So we have Dwight says the flag on the air sign looks good. Yep. Just need to put it so that my big fat head doesn't block the the flag itself. I was thinking of maybe putting my camera higher also, because the camera right now is like this, and if I put it higher and have an angle that's more like downwards, at the same time you guys could see the screen of my laptop with the SDR going, because this is how it is right now. So my laptop's here with the SDR going, and of course outside is the snow falling, and the so I'd like to have something. Maybe that'd be nice. What else do we have? PLF Radio is sharing the Solar Flux 86 and K Index 1. That's pretty good. So conditions shouldn't be too bad. Simon Templar, nice to have you on board. Happy Saturday to you too. Aerial Imaging says, do we have an HF node going on 40 meters to parallel the show? It's at 0 hours tonight that it's going to happen. It's not on parallel with the show. Jetcrafter, nice to have you on board from Southern Maine, 35 degrees, firing up the radio. Peter John Fetting, nice to have you on board, says, I trust you are well. Greetings to you. And he's in South Africa, ZR6 PCF. Nice to have you here. Sad to see that they're shutting down the flights and all the people coming out of South Africa with that new variant there. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth. We have RGDA Dakota says cooling off here in Winsville, Missouri, 55 degrees. Let me just put the tablet here for now. I'm going to take a sip of my vodka cranberry juice. Cheers, everybody. And Juan Carlos, nice to have you on board from Lima, Peru. Pretty cool. And we have, I hate it when it jumps like that. And we have, so here where it was. Anybody else? Monkey Fraggle, hola. Where are you located? Paul Steckler, nice to have you on board from sunny California. PDF Radio says it's 6 degrees Celsius right now. Here it's -5. -5 right now. Mika Dalmage, nice to have you on board from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Paul Steckler found an internet stream for my new C Crane Wi-Fi 3 named Deutsche Welle, which seems to consist entirely of the old DW interval signal. No other content so far. You should have, if I'm not mistaken, the internet, Deutsche Welle over the internet, I believe, has an English language stream. So continue checking it out. Maybe you're on the wrong one because they have several streams, but one is English only. So continue checking out. Maybe you'll find another Deutsche Welle that will be English, because I remember, and I think it's still going on, that they have a online English language 24-hour stream for Deutsche Welle. So maybe continue searching for, because they have several different languages that are available via streaming. Maybe you just aren't on the good one. Wi-Fi WF7I Homebrew says the Hamnet will come after the show today, unless the show goes more than 4 hours. Anything's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. PDF Radio, the 100th anniversary of Shortwave will be during the next show. So, sharing the link to the 100th anniversary of Transatlantic Test special event station using a 1921 replica transmitter. And that's going to happen on December 11th. Dang. I wish we would have put that in the international radio report. I wonder if it'd be useful to. We already have a lot of things we talk about, so it would be difficult for me to squeeze it in somewhere. What do you think about it, Sheldon? Did you see this? The 100th anniversary of Transatlantic Test special event station using a 1921 replica transmitter. Do you think it'd be nice to maybe try to squeeze it in real quick somewhere where I can find a spot maybe where we can shorten something we talked about? Just let me know if you wish. I'll do that tonight, and I'll re-upload the show to the CKUT. I can actually do it. So just let me know if you think that'd be nice to kind of squeeze in somewhere. DJW. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. So DJW883, nice to have you on board from Southeast Pennsylvania. I got a question. Why, when you listen to lower sideband and upper sideband, the volume has to be turned up and AM is always louder? Well, the thing is you got to remember that when you actually use lower upper sideband, what happens is you're losing the carrier, because a carrier is made within your receiver. So there's kind of your radio has less signal to deal with, because it deals with only the voice part, for example, of the transmission. So I guess that would explain why maybe the volume level needs to be put up, because but it's not all radios. Some radios do have more. There are some radios when you switch from AM to lower and upper sideband, there's no difference. I think that also has to do probably with the way the radio also works. For example, on the Texan 990 or H501, I don't think you don't really turn up the volume much. But on the St. Jean ATS 909X2, for example, you do have to pump up the volume to have a better audio on upper and lower sideband. But it has to do with two things. The way AM signals are sent with full, the carrier and full sideband on each side, which probably in most radios makes them louder. And also the fact that some receivers probably are, kind of quieter on upper lower sideband than others also at the same time. Mr. Bios, nice to have you on board from France. Joseph, nice to have you here from Defiance, Ohio. We have Enzio Monico, nice to have you on board. And in North Italy, nice to have you on board, my friend. Zen Pharaohs, nice to have you here. And using a FRG7 by Yisu and HF Plus Discovery today. And what else do we have? RG88 Dakota, I found that DW. Stephen Wood, nice to have you here from Cape Cod. So RG88 Dakota says I have the English language DW programmed in. Roger Gibbs, nice to have you on board from Chile, UK. 13HN870, nice to have you on board from Germany. And we have, what do we have? Pilaf Radio, do you think we can get the 100th anniversary of shortwave transmission during next week's Saturday show? It's going to be a tough one because I'm looking at the frequencies that they are using. Let me just go back here and look at it. 1820 megahertz. That's a 160 meter band. Look, not impossible. Not impossible. We'll try it. So it's going to come from, it's not impossible. The 1BCG replica transmitter operated as W2AN/1BCG on 1820 using CW, Vintage Radio and Communication Museum of Connecticut. Yeah, there's a chance. Possibly later, like more at maybe starting, sunsets at around 21 UT here. I would guess towards, the second half of the show, maybe starting at, past 21 and maybe a little later. So we'll definitely try it. And last transmission is at 22:45 Eastern. What are the times here? These times are 18 Eastern time. Okay. And they go every 15 minutes for 5 hours. So, okay. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be possible. Connecticut on 160 meters is a possibility here. And CW is definitely the best mode for that. So, yeah, I would guess we could probably get it. It's going to be a nice little thing to do during the show next week. Randall, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Call Icon says, I think it's the 100th anniversary of a transatlantic ham transmission. So they're talking about amateurs. There was transatlantic transmission before 1921. So yeah, it's probably the amateur radio side of things. Carol, nice to have you here from Florida. David Zidsman, nice to have you here from St. Louis. Tarek, nice to have you here from Cairo, Egypt. Howdy, nice to have you here from Arkansas. We have Dave getting some slow scan TV on 14230 upper sideband. It's probably one of the best frequencies, honestly, to monitor for slow scan television, honestly. So yeah, Arthur, the AGC, the automatic gain control, probably has something to play with for the single sideband volume, definitely. And I think each radio is different. Each radio is different. So some pump that volume better than others, and there's the speed of that slope also. So you have the schedule of the new radio show on WRMI 15770. So that one at 15770 was at 2015 UTC on Thursday. 2015 UTC on Thursday. The CQ calling show. It's very short though. Okay, it's, 15 minutes. Kind of found it a little short, but it's better than nothing. The full schedule of that show is, I got it here. Full schedule of that show on WRMI. If you guys want to listen to the new CQ calling show, 0815 UTC 7730, 2015 UTC on 15770. Then there's the Thursday evening in North America, but it's UT Friday 030 9395 and 0115 Friday at 9955. But that's Thursday evening in North America, basically. So that's the schedule. And the one at 2015 is nice because it the one at 2015 is followed by AWR Wavescan. The 15770 is for Europe, North Africa, Middle East, but a lot of you were not really hearing it well, apparently, in Europe. So I don't know if you guys are going to get it. 15770 is like, that's pretty much sending it at sending it in the evening for you guys. So a lot of darkness path, especially for the long nights now. So it's really dedicated to amateur radio. Honestly, it's really dedicated for amateur radio because when I tuned in, he talked about the first show on Thursday was he talked about the Dayton Amvention is going to happen, and then he answered some ham radio questions from viewers, so from some users, and he's got a daily, apparently an almost, as he called it, almost daily live show, 1 hour live show that's about amateur radio, CB, and so on, which I will need to check out on YouTube. So that's going to be something to check out also. Mobile Armored Strike Command made contact to the National Weather Service Office Amateur Radio Club in Kansas City. Cool. Mad Max, nice to have you on board. Better late than never, as they say. John Beckham, nice to have you on board from northeast of Florida. So, hey, I'm down to chat already. That's a quick one. And of course, we're going to talk about this little radio, which isn't that little, actually. If you look at this radio, if I can compare it to something else that maybe you guys will see a little bit of the size. Here's the size of a Texan PL 600/680. There's all the same size compared to it. So if you look at the radio size and you look at the size of this, it's definitely different. Also, much thicker radio. This does not have shortwave, so that's the first thing you need to know if you are thinking of getting this. But it has an interesting band type of band reception. It's a AM/FM radio, plus it can get the 2-meter ham band, and it has the 7 weather channels also. So there's a little telescopic here for that you can pull out, and which I have a hard time pulling out right now. Here we go. It's the first surprise. It's without batteries, already a heavy radio. So I suspect 2 things in here, because it does have a power cord. See here, it comes with a power cord because you can actually power it directly from the AC. You can see kind of the speaker here. So I suspect 2 things in here. I suspect that 1, the speaker's magnet is probably quite big, so it makes it heavy. And the other thing is, I'm wondering if it doesn't have a magnetic, it's not, instead of a switching power supply, it's a real big transformer. So it's a magnetic transformer that's giving the power. So more of a linear type power supply to remove the noise. Because when I plug it in with the cable, it doesn't add at all any extra noise to it, which is very nice. That means you can actually use this not only as your favorite kitchen radio, but if you DX medium wave, even plugged in with the power cord, um, it actually is still very good and doesn't add any noise to it. So without batteries, it's heavy. Now, when you put in here the 4D batteries, because that's what it takes to power it also on battery, when you put in here D batteries, I can tell you that this thing weighs a ton. So if you're one taking this along on travel, expect to have a heavy travel radio. I can't, I won't talk about its performance today because obviously I haven't tested enough to really have an idea of the performance. But I listened to the FM band yesterday. I listened to the uh, I listened to the 2 meter band on it. I got a ham net on 147015. I caught, of course, there's the weather channels. I listened to the local weather channel. And of course, you guys might have seen, I've posted a few videos. I did go through the AM band a little bit yesterday evening. First thing is that the audio of this radio is very nice, I got to say. And for medium wave, this is supposed to be an excellent receiver. It has kind of they say it's twin coil ferrite in it that gives an enhanced signal of medium wave stations. And the tuning I did yesterday is actually very nice. Even with my local strong stations, or for example, I was listening to 700, and on 690, we have a very powerful CKGM sports station here. Well, I was able to null it out enough that I could actually listen quite easily. Even there was a little bit of scratchiness due to the 690. I could easily still listen to 700. So the selectivity seems to be pretty good for this radio. Audio is great. What's going to be interesting, and that's where we're going to stand here, because a lot of you are going to like, oh well, it's supposed to be amazing for its performance. Well, one of the things that's going to happen here is that I will tune the same signals on several medium wave radios at the same time. So I'll compare this to the H501 from Texan, the 990X. I'll compare it with even smaller radios like the Texan PL330, and many others. So, because the question, and that's probably the number one question I've seen on the comments and on people that asked me or send me email or anything, the number one question that came out is, this radio is expensive. Does it really receive better than any other radio that I have? And that's what we're going to test here to see if it is indeed a better performer on medium wave and all. And you're going to have a lot of videos comparing the medium wave signals between several radios. So like the key features, like I said, AM, FM. AM is supposed to be better and enhanced due to the twin coil ferrite. It is a 2 meter band, 144 to 148. So you can listen to hams on the 2 meter band. And there's going to be, of course, testing. There's some jacks here, so you can actually have there's a line out jack and auxiliary jack. One is, I'm not sure what it is because I haven't checked it out yet. You can have external medium wave antenna. There's a screw for that with a ground screw. So things we don't see a lot on it. Nice big tuning button with a dimple, so you can actually tune with your finger. Volume knob. This radio has beautiful audio, I have to say it. It has the preset button on the top, and you have, of course, the on and off buttons. Auxiliary, if you want to, use the good audio from it. Um, Out of just to say quickly, yes, audio is good on this. I still find it better on the PL990 and the H501X, which has stereo. But yeah, good audio. And I listened to some music on the FM band with it yesterday. You can play with the bass and the bass and treble buttons, and honestly, it sounds very good. Sounds very good. Like I said, heavy, and of course, it has a clock, has timers, and all of that, and it can scan. So when you want to listen to 2 meter band, for example, you can have it scan the 2 meter band to find a signal, stuff like that. So more tests coming up. This is indeed a very nice little radio to have. It has weather alert. So if you wish to have the weather alert stuff, so this is the
UV index 1 or low. Wind chill -19 in the morning and -10 in the afternoon.
so that's
Sunday
the weather
night,
weather channel.
snow. Risk of freezing rain before morning. Snowfall amount 10 to 15 centimeters.
I don't know if 2 meter had some activity there. So then no activity right now, but you can have it scan the 2 meter band. Here it's stopping too much because it has a lot of local interference from different signals, but from all the noise around me. But I did hear the net yesterday. Seems to be decently sensitive on the 2 meter band, for sure. And of course, it has this very nice light that stays on for 2 minutes on the batteries. It stays on all the time on power, and it has actually levels. You have 3 light levels and then the off. So, anyways, I'll be testing this in the next days, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna come up with my own review, and of course, we'll be comparing the radios. Is this radio superior for medium wave than say a Texan H501X and PL990 that we are known to be pretty good? And of course, we'll compare it with other radios. It makes me almost want to take out my Super Radio 3 so that we can actually compare my Super Radio 3 with this radio and see how well it performs. So, anyways, a lot of videos coming up. But nice, I like it, and I want to thank once again Brian in Victoria, British Columbia, for sending me this. Paid the shipping only for it, so I actually paid the shipping. I paid for expedited shipping with $70. Kind of bargain when you consider that this radio here in Canada would come out at roughly 300 Canadian dollars when you take the exchange rate, the shipping, and the taxes that you have to pay when it gets here. So $70 versus 300, not bad, not bad. So happy to play around with this. It's going to be a lot of fun. What else do we have? Just Van Dalen, nice to have you on board. Salut. The Seacrane 2E is heavy. It's for just without the batteries. I think they say it's something like 4 pounds, 3 point something pounds. Add the batteries to it. It's like definitely you drop this from a window and you will kill someone. I can tell you, killed by a radio. That's imagine seeing my face in the news, killed by a radio. Rifleman 336. So showing off the new toy there. Nice to have you here, Alex. N8ICN in Southwest Ohio. It's a very solid radio. Absolutely. It feels quality. It's hard to, because when we have plastic casing radios, because it's all plastic, one of the things that is difficult to get in a plastic radio is quality feel, because often when it's just plastic, it feels like I don't know. Well, this is actually a, um, a very quality feel to this radio. It really seems very, very well done, made, and very nice. So it's going to be really, really cool. Dave playing with new antennas today, U-Loop and Degen 31 MS active loop, dashboard GA450 active loop. Cool. Have fun. And have, compare all of that. It's kind of cool. No, that's a cool part of radio, having fun and just trying stuff and, different antennas and different radios. Nick Sharp, 100th anniversary of transatlantic test special event. Yeah, which CW decode software do you recommend for next Saturday? Can one decode from a remote SDR? You can indeed. For Morse code, you can decode from an SDR. Absolutely, any remote SDR. You know what? FLDG does an okay job at CW, and it probably will be an automatic transmission, so that should decode well if you have a decent signal. And where the software, the Morse code software, the coding software, has a lot of difficulty is when it's human sent, because it's often not stable in speed. Where when it's an automated process from a computer, usually the software decodes well. You can also, I have Morse decoder on my tablet here for Android, and there's some CW decoders for iOS also, depending on what device you have. You don't even have to plug it in with cables or anything. Just the microphone and putting the computer or the devices near the radio is good enough. What else do we have? Hazio says Sub RCR 920 AM FM shortwave with antenna telescopic portable 2 tape. So cool. Yeah, it has this. So the way it's done, there's kind of a carrying that you can do, because you see here, and it's rubberized. So it's meant to be transported like this. It does have kind of a way to transport it. But honestly, I don't feel comfortable like that. I would have wanted, actually, the first thing I looked for when I actually opened the box was a handle. I was like, no, there's no carrying handle. But they did put this here, which it works. I just don't feel comfortable in actually holding it in that way. Honestly, I'm afraid it's going to slip or something. But they did put some rubber, so when you have your hand in it, the handle actually holds well. Nick Sharp, you can get a Shortwave Certificate for the special event by sending a copy of the transmitted message to the email that we have here. So this is cool. And Dave decodes CW with Morse Expert Android app off the speaker. So, it works. JDA Dakota, I used to carry an RF 2800 to a lot of places. That's a really, really heavy radio, probably a lot like this Seacrane. Hey, Robert Cross, hope you are well too. Nick Sharp, sorry, no mobile here. So you would need a software program using the PC, which is FLDG. Works great. DJW883, have one. And it's very good. Radio works good for me. Cool. Paul says, Santa almost promised me a CC Radio 3. Yep, it's a 2E with Bluetooth. The 3 is actually the exact same as the 2E in the radio department. It just adds Bluetooth capability. Zen Faros, compared to PL330 and AM200 loop, adding a loop makes a huge difference for medium wave. I'll also try it with the GP7 SSB. So yes, Angie, and well, I'm going to compare all of that with this radio. Have an idea of, is this superior or it's a good radio? Before when I see somebody say, "Oh, enhanced AM and better than competition," it's like, yeah, well, we'll test it with the competition, and then I'll give my impressions. And you guys will see the videos also. Kind of gives you an idea of what it feels like and how it performs. So, like you say, PLF radio, the same GNATS 909, 909X2. They're known to be pretty good on medium wave, absolutely. So these are all things we're going to have to check. 11 radios. Updates available. Yeah, okay. Thank you for letting me know. What else do we have? So 11 radios. My R108 does very well on medium wave. Definitely. Nice little radio for that, too. John Beckham, Seagrain has always been an innovator in shortwave radios and related electronics items. One thing for sure is their radios are different. They have, they add things that you don't see much, like the CC Skywave SSB that I have. Pretty much the only dedicated shortwave radio that has the weather band and weather alert. So, in some cases, this could be a good idea. You know what? I actually like even the CB, the Uniden CB, the Bearcat I got here. I like the fact that it has weather alert. Since all summer I let it on, almost scanning the CB channels for activity, like all day long. And I mean, when there was some severe thunderstorms coming through, I can tell you, I was hearing the weather alert, and really well. Dave, what are preferred travel antennas out there? My favorite is bring a roll of wire and alligator clips. It's probably the easiest setup you can do and works great. But there's all sorts of things you can bring along. David is hoping that Santa Claus is listening. So yeah, let's hope. So if you guys are asking for a radio for Christmas, let's hope that I'm pretty sure he's a radio guy and he's watching this show. He might show up actually at some point later this month. So we'll see. Rifleman 336 Ukraine will clean the clock of the GE Super Radio 3. Now the GE Super Radio 2 would be a better head-to-head. Yeah, I don't have one of those. It's supposed to be the 2 is supposed to be the best for all the performance. I've never really liked my GE Super Radio 3, honestly, except for the audio quality, which is nice. Tom Preppers, nice to have you here from France. Paul, if you dropped a sea crane from a window, many of the viewers would die of a broken heart. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I had one radio over the years that fell down from the balcony here to the grass in front. And which one was it? I dropped. Man, I don't remember which one it was. I dropped one from the balcony. Not even once, twice. Actually, what happened is that I have these, I have the flowers on the balcony. And I had a small portable, and I was not, it was too noisy. Except when I put the radio in one of the flower pots, it was super clear. I could listen really easily. The noise was gone in that spot. So I put the radio in the flower pot, but in order for the radio to hold, I had to have it, the flowers and the plant itself had to hold the radio. And so I tried once and I was like, oh, seems solid enough. And after maybe 20 minutes, I hear a little noise, and then I don't hear the radio anymore. And it's like, oh, look at that! It's down in the grass. It fell three stories, and it was still working. No damage, nothing. And I put it back in the flower pot maybe 2-3 days later, and did the same thing. It fell down, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that again, because falling down from the balcony to the grass 3 stories high is, twice and still working. Let's not take another chance, because the next time it might just not work anymore. N8UCN, not ICN. Trav Master Flasher, nice to have you here. Gary, 24 fan, I think the Roadrunner used that radio to dispatch of Wile E. Coyote once. Man, Acme manufactured them. Was listening to the bad weather. Eastmet Kuzu, nice to have you on board, my friend. Call Archon says, remember the old GE Super Radios are analog and this C-Crane is digital, so technically apples and oranges. Yeah, but still performance is performance. So, it still can be interesting. David says, doesn't look bad this C-Crane. Something nice about DX on long wave, medium wave is that it opens up a whole subset of radios without shortwave coverage that aren't so known, but that still have DX grade performance. Yep. Absolutely. Others Out of Crafter's Kitchen says, I have done AM compare of the GE Super Radio 2 and Panasonic RF2200. Panasonic definitely beats the GE and all-time best medium wave performer. C-Crane is in the same class, definitely performance-wise. So it's going to be nice to check out. Stephen Wood has W4P on 14306 special event station commemorating the end of Prohibition. Let's see if I can hear it. W4P. So let's tune this. 14306. Let's see if we hear anything here. Yeah, look at that. Hearing it, I think. Or hearing a ham at least. Yeah, I'm hearing it. So I'm hearing W4 whiskey for Papa. A drink of choice. Vodka and cranberry juice. So kind of nice. So pretty good signal here. Pretty good. He's a little fast on the whiskey for Papa, but he's there. Well, a pretty good signal here. Whiskey for Papa. So 14306 upper sideband for those that want to hear that special event station. Avanci, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you on board. Spent likes the Dijon 1103. Cool. Salut Vince. J'espère que ça va bien. Nice to have you on board from Deux-Montagnes, Quebec. And 6RLS. Nice to have you on board from Northwest Berkeley. Vahan Yazarian, GE Super Radios. I enjoy DX with mine. It's, the 1 and the 2 are known to be the best, with I think the 2 being the best of all the GE Super Radios. The 3 was kind of a failure. The 3 is kind of a failure in a sense, and I actually, I have a G Super Radio because I had heard that it was good. I didn't think that the 3 was, well, it's not that it's bad. Okay, it works, but it's definitely not what I hoped it was. Let's say it like that. But I bought it because I went to Canadian Tire, and at Canadian Tires, I was looking at the stuff, and then I see a Super Radio 3, and I was like, well, they have that here. But they were on sale when I got it because they were selling it. It was expensive at Canadian Tire. It was like $129. I didn't want to pay that for that radio. And when I got back to Canadian Tire one day, I looked at it again, and it was on sale at $59 and an extra with it. They had taped a Ethon mini, what is a mini 300 or something like that. I don't remember the model number exactly. It was a small little shortwave portable with the frequency display. And so when I saw $59, I'm getting a super radio and a Ethon Mini at the same time. I was like, well, that's a bargain. Time to bring that home. I remember I was going at Canadian Tire when I got it. Funny story. When I got it, I was not working. I was in between jobs. So of course I was, being careful how much money I spend. I was going to Canadian Tires for something entirely different, and I had just enough money for that. And when I saw the GE Super Radio 3 and that Ethon Mini that was taped on it for $59, I thought, okay, I'll get the other thing another day. I'm going to bring that home instead. I made a different choice. PLF radio, maybe the AN200 with the C Crane 2E can be a good test too. Yeah, that'd be interesting to test out. Honestly, I'm definitely gonna try that out also. David, what else we have? Let me just go down here. John Beckham says, what usually designates a top DX performer on medium wave band is the quality of the radio's internal ferrite loop stick antenna. Yeah, kind of two things: the quality of the ferrite antenna, and this one seems to be a high quality twin coil ferrite apparently. And that's also interesting because I've got another C Crane here, which is just a CC radio. They also say on it is a twin coil ferrite. That would be interesting to compare the two CC radio and CC radio 2E together. That's something I need to do. So definitely the ferrite, but also it's important the electronics in the circuit. Also, for the performance of the radio itself and its selectivity is very important. Also, but that's going to be nice to check out. Van says 9700DX $27 sale at Anonco. The Texan? Let me just check out here something. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Anonco. And we're going to go to... What does it say here? Okay, product search. Let's check for 9700. And what does it say here? Wasn't that radio more expensive than that? Look at that. R9700DX, $31.99 here it says. Black. No external power source. I don't want to have an external power. Add to cart. Am I just purchasing a radio now? Proceed to checkout. So it's $27.24 without the power. And of course, there's going to be shipping, I would say. PayPal checkout. I'm buying a radio live, guys. So I got a secret code. Oh, let me check out the code that I'm getting. So, okay. I'm purchasing in, there we go. So that makes it total of $34.69. Total of what? It's making it at, there we go. Continue. Updating order. Well, here we go, guys. I'm a proud owner, confirmed owner of a Texan. Oh, no, I'm not buying that. What is that? FedEx. I don't want to have FedEx. Let me check it out. That's the only shipping option they have. No, I don't want to pay for that. That's way too expensive. Okay, nope, not purchasing it because it seems that the only shipping they give out is FedEx. The radio is $27, but the shipping is $56. I ain't gonna pay that. So nope, no Texan. Sorry, no Texan. It's a false alarm. I don't know if by any other means it would have been better, but there I don't have any choice. When I check out, it says FedEx, and there's no other choice. I have nothing else I can choose. So nope, not paying $56 for a $27 radio. Come on. Would have been nice to have it though. Ramon Ortiz, I was working on an empty house and a basement, found a realistic DX440, and it works and is in great condition. Cool. Have fun. It's a nice little radio. PLF radio. I already know the buzzer and some others, but I discovered more signals like them at Priam. Yeah. There's a lot of unique, very bizarre signals coming out of Russia of different things. Absolutely. The buzzer, there's the channel markers, there's the air horn, the goose, the alarm, squeaky wheel. Absolutely. There's a lot of these little things that you can actually hear and listen to. Pretty surprising. Juan Carlos, my Christmas gift is on its way. Texan PL330, which will join my XHD D808. Raduau R108 and my analog R9012. Every purchase based on your comments. Cool. You're going to have a great little radio. Really, really nice. That's why I want to be as fair as possible on my reviews, because I know that people purchase depending on what I will say about a radio. Danny, Shortwave and Radio DX from Yonkers, New York. Nice to have you here. Paul Kamish, I'm new to the channel and just done my foundation exam. Cool. Scott Belcher, with the Texan H501X, have you found connecting an outside of radio antenna has helped a lot with FM and medium wave DXing? The FM and medium wave, I haven't tested that much. I have tested some DXing using an AN200 with the AM. With FM, I probably will have a hard time testing anything FM, because one of the biggest problems I have here is that we have a big quantity of powerhouse FM stations here. I am blasted by the Montreal FM radio stations. So I would think that any outdoor antenna or outside antenna for the FM part would probably overload the radio, and I'm pretty sure. Richard Califano says that he is still not used to this new time. I was putting my Tram 1411 and could not connect the RG6 to the base of the antenna. I think I need a PL265 adapter. The Tram 1411 has it's a PL259 that you need. It has a SO239 socket, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure. I'm just think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the connector's a PL. It's a very standard. It's what most radios use. Most big base radios and CB radios use, which is you'll need a PL259. That's the connector that plugs into the base of the tram. Which is a very standard, not a PL265 like you say. The radio. Try to, if it's for listening, it's not too bad. But if you can have that RJ6 directly into a PL259, it would be much better. That'll be much better because you won't have any, especially for if the antenna is outside. Putting connectors together, you also can maybe have the risk of having some infiltration of water. So try to have the RG6 with a direct PL259. And then at the other end, well, you have whatever connector that you want for the radios you're going to use. John McClure, nice to have you on board. Jim Whitty, nice to have you here. Jim, EI3HCB. David says, love my newbie Texan PL680. Steep learning curve. You know, we often, and that's just one thing about this, and it's the fact that you know, we have to realize that these radios today are you know, complex little devices. So you got to be careful because you got to understand that these are not everybody will understand these radios, you know, as easily as some of us are capable of, you know. So, but they are indeed, and some are more complex than others, depending on how the menus are made and everything. But anyways, yeah, I've got questions. We're here for that. Sheldon Harvey, just wrapping up the December 2021 CIDX Messenger, 76 pages this month, including 2 new features, Uncle Skip's bookshelf column and a photo feature, the vintage radio gallery. And December 2021 CIDX is going to be sent out shortly. And of course, if you've never asked for a copy, you can, of course, ask for one. CIDX Club, CIDX Club at yahoo.com and ask for one. And if you like it, you can subscribe. It's an electronic publication. The Messenger, I have the utility column that I have in there. So lots of good stuff in here. Oh, Anonco now finally has a European website. So that's cool. That's cool. 000, nice to have you on board. KD2ANN, New Jersey. Van says he gets a cut. Danny Shortwave, I have a CC radio EP. It is pretty good medium wave DXer for sure. I need to post videos of that radio. I bought it a few months back from eBay. VT radio contesting on 160, so sound is off. But WCBS did drop their AM HD channel, confirmed by Engineer Forum on the web. You know, they're all dropping it. They're all dropping their HD. All of them. It's really, really something that's, you know, moving away. It's like there's less and less of them that are actually, you know, using that. It's nice to have you here, Paul, AA1SU in Essex Junction, Vermont. Danny Shortwave, FedEx horrible. They love to toss packages over my gate instead of placing it down gently. I avoid FedEx like a plague. My many videos on FedEx destroying packages by throwing them. Yes. Jay Gilbert, nice to have you here from Melbourne, Australia. Jace, nice to have you here. Jetcrafter lists my GE Super Radio 2. Just wish I could use it in the house, but too much RFI. Would it be possible to hook up the MLA30 to the AM screw on the back? Technically, yeah, there would be a way, as long as you follow because I think there's an AM and a ground screw on that radio. So what you would need is to have a way to put the center connector to the antenna jack and the shield of the connector to the ground screw. I would think that would work possibly, for sure. But that said, would it be better? Well, you have noise in the house, so that's why you want to emulate 30 outdoors, because that's going to remove the noise. Then that would be definitely a better combination, for sure. But as a performance on medium wave, I'm not sure that a MLA30 would actually improve reception necessarily over the internal ferrite of a GE Super Radio. But in the case where you are having noise inside the house because you can't use it, yeah, that's probably something that would be a good alternative. Um, what else do we have? JD Dakota says most of the Odyssey affiliates have cut their medium wave HD signals. Most HDs now on medium wave are generally weaker stations. Mine stops on 2 only when I scan now. It used to stop on 4 frequencies. When I got my Stangean HD radio, the HDR 14, what's happening with the when I got it, it would actually, when I would scan the AM band at night, it would stop on 4 frequencies with a blinking HD. It would tell me, oh, there's HD on this. And a couple of stations were actually, when they were very powerful, and the peaks when they were received were actually getting into HD for a few seconds, which was really cool. Now it stops on only 2 frequencies, 1010 and 1080, WTIC on 1080 and 1010, the CFRB Toronto. And it doesn't stop on 1210 anymore, where it used to stop on 1210. And I don't remember the other one. 7 1 and 7, or 1 810. 810, the other one was 810, I think. It doesn't stop anymore on any of those, so it's like they probably turned off their HD. It seems that nobody. And here in Montreal, well, they're cheating. CJ80 800 is actually HD on 107.3 FM HD3, and CKGM Sports 690 is on 107.3 also at HD2. So they're using, the only place where they're doing HD as FM now. Danny, nice to have you on board. PE1 PDS from the Netherlands. Dave, Pirate coming in on 6925 USB. Let's check that out here if I hear anything. 6.925. Anything over here? Not getting anything here. Doesn't seem to come in here. I heard nothing at all. A lot of noise. I got this big blob of noise around that frequency range. Vahan says, I agree about FedEx. They have a package that had been delayed for 10 days. Kalakon says, same here. Some FM stations are so strong they bleed into the shortwave bands. Yeah, this is a crazy thing here. This is the best test for any radio here. If it doesn't bleed FM through the shortwave bands, the radio is a darn good radio in general. The Stangean ATS 909X2 has actually FM bleed through. FM bleed through in the in some parts. Even the airband is unusable here. 0-100, yeah, SO239, the connector, so it's a PL259 for the that you need. John Beckham, of course, UTC is a universal timekeeper on the shortwave bands, but what has happened to GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, these days? Well, it's mostly an old way of saying the same thing, Greenwich Mean Time, because that's where it started. Basically, the UTC kind of started. Was a lot of stations were I think the BBC is often using still still says GMT. If I'm not mistaken, even today. But UTC became kind of the standard, the standard to use. So pretty much everybody kind of decided to join the standard wording. Let's use Universal Time Coordinated rather than GMT, which is Greenwich Mean Time, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But GMT we could hear a lot on the band in the past. So it's kind of interesting. What else do we have? RGA Dakota, one of the few advantages of living so far from the metro area or any city. Absolutely. Cameraman, is FCC just no longer enforcing licenses on the bands? Let's say that they are so there's so little resource at the FCC that you just don't really don't they just don't have the manpower to enforce anything. But it has to be done in some way. But it's like here in Canada, there's like almost no one on the bands. Shelley, South Central Pennsylvania. Nice to have you here. Yep, UTC and GMT are interchangeable. Absolutely. What else do we have? And the FCC, like here in Canada, Industry Canada or whatever the now what it is, it's a different thing, but there's like unless it's really really a bad something bad happening or really really a big problem, they mostly do nothing anymore, pretty much. Yeah, well, GMT is mostly for the meaning that it's the timeline we use, the UTC timeline crosses the city of Greenwich, so that's why GMT or Greenwich Mean Time was used. But it was standardized as UTC, and instead of using that GMT. KW1161, nice to have you on board from Tucson, Arizona. David Miller, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Bonjour, hi, Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board from the Boston area. And I put together a EVSE kit to charge my electric vehicle. It actually works. Cool. Cool, Richard, you ordered your PL259. Jet Crafter, thanks, Shell. Yes, there's so much noise in the house. Meaning wave is unusable. So yeah, that would help. That definitely will help if it's the fact that you want to use it in the house. Just find a way to have the center connector to the antenna jack, and the shield of the cable will go on the ground screw, and that should work. David, no, not yet. I still have one last course tomorrow, and I'm going to check out for an examiner within the next couple of weeks. So at the latest in January, probably will have my license. It'll all depend on all the time. VT Radio got the sound on low now, listening for me on 1838 CW. 1838 CW. Let's check it out. 1838.8 CW. Let's go there. Yeah, there's a lot of signals, a lot of CW signals. Lots of CW signals. 1838. Sorry, I'm just gonna. I clicked. So 0.878, and I put myself in CW. See if we can hear. I'm hearing you, A1. Definitely hearing you. Put the volume higher here. So hearing you. I'm definitely hearing you, VT Radio. RGA Dakota KMOX being rebroadcast on 98.7 FM, but is in HD2. So yeah, they do the same thing here. Cameraman, I'm not ignoring it, but I am not. I'm in like the questions are that I'm at are about 10, 15 minutes delay. I'm not at the bottom of the chat. You got to be patient when you ask a question. You ask it once, and once I get there, I'll answer it. What else do we have? Yeah, well, it's mostly in standardizing everything. UTC, I think, was chosen as the official, universal time kind of what do you call it, acronym or anyways, um, you know, Zuluan. Joseph, remember AM stereo? Yeah, that went by the wayside pretty much. There's almost no radios with stereo, but I remember being curious. I think it was Radio Shack that sold one radio that was AM stereo at the time. If it would have been today, now I would have purchased that radio for sure because I wanted to try it. But back then I didn't have any money, so buying a radio just because it had stereo AM was not in my budget of the teenage years of AM stereo. Oh man. Yeah, Greenwich. Yeah. I like Greenwich. It sounds more like when you say Greenwich, it looks like that witch in the Wizard of Oz when she appears and she's all green. That's the Greenwich. So yeah, getting your signal VT radio on 1838.8 pretty well here. Pretty well. David in Barcelona says my current QTH is also quite noisy on medium wave, long wave, and HF. However, there are a few indoor spots I can put a portable radio on where that noise floor is lower, so I take full advantage of them. Yeah. The Wind 1960, nice to have you on board. So Greenwich. Yeah, I remember. I think that now that I think about it, that's pretty much always when I was hearing the GMT time pronounced. Greenwich I remember the pronunciation of Greenwich. John Beckham, I couldn't imagine shortwave radio without CHU and WWV speaking about UTC. And the worst part is that that one I had never understood. Now it's CHU is in universal time, but CHU used to be, for those I remember, CHU used to be on the Eastern Standard Time. And that was one I never understood. So, But then they moved to Universal Time, which was much more, was like, okay, that's logical. A time station should not be on local time. It should be on Universal Time. WA0RCR. Yeah. I used when in the good old days, that's been on WA0RCR has been on 1860, broadcasting all sorts of AM radio stuff for a long time. Unfortunately, today I see a trace on the waterfall, but I can't. It's too noisy to listen to. Like right now, I see a trace. I could see 1860 here on my waterfall. There is a peak there, but in the 90s, I remember 1860 was coming in. The noise level where I lived there was so low that I could actually listen to the amateur radio stuff that they would broadcast on WA0RCR on 1860. But long gone are the days of being able to listen to that here. Kevin, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Finished wrapping gifts and put up some lights inside. Enjoy my C Crane 2E. I enjoy the fine tuning capability, but I also live in high noise. I don't really experience that 5-star. So yeah, it's that's the problem. I have decent enough reception on medium wave here. I'm lucky maybe for that. Even though that there is some noise for some reason, and one of the noise sources that used to exist here is gone. Also, I used to have this very loud buzzing that was at it had like a cycle that it would go through, and I would have like maybe a minute and a half that I could listen, and then that buzzing would come through, and then I would not be able to hear anything across the medium wave band for 30 seconds, and then it'd be another minute that I'd be able to listen. And that was across the house, and it was like I was going crazy. It was like, okay, I can't listen to medium wave anymore. And it was so powerful that even some of the stronger stations were washed out. And someday it disappeared, and I don't have it anymore, which I'm very happy because I mean, I would have not been able to listen to anything if that had continued. Yeah, GMT was the time zone used, and UTC is the standard time that's used, but they're the same. They're the same time. John Beckham, how do you define or describe what an atomic clock is all about? Well, it depends what you talk about atomic clock. If you talk about the ones that are like at CHU and WWV, they actually are extremely precise devices that use what's the metal they use? They use not plutonium, but anyways, they use a metal that they can actually kind of use or count the decay of the atomic um, um, of it. It actually is kind of a nuclear thing. It's like using uranium if you want. And what they look at is the decay, because that specific uh, metal that they use, the cesium. Yeah, thank you, cesium. Thank you very much. It is that exactly. So they actually look at the atomic decay of cesium because it's very precise, and so with the measurements of the atomic decay, they have an ultra precise clock. And actually, that needs to be changed from time to time because the cesium decays. That means at some point it isn't reliable enough, and they have to replace it. And here on CHU, actually, that happened many years ago. They had to replace the cesium uh, inside. So it's like a cesium bar or something that they have in there, a rod, and it cost $100,000 to replace. And I remember when that happened, they actually came to a moment where they thought, okay, do we replace that atomic clock for CHU time, or do we just shut down the whole thing? And they actually had a survey asking if they should shut down or they should pay the $100,000 to replace. And it came up that they replaced the cesium, and it continued operating. But when you talk about, because we got to be careful with, the use of atomic clock is a little wide. So, for example, my weather station that's on the wall here, if you look at it, it says it has with atomic clock. It doesn't have an atomic clock. What they refer to is that it has the 60 kilohertz ferrite to actually synchronize. And actually, I see that the little antenna icon is on the display. So that means last night it actually synchronized with 60 kilohertz WWVB. So those devices, those clocks don't have an atomic clock in them. What they do is they synchronize with the atomic clock of WWVB on 60 kilohertz. So we got to be careful, because some people think it was like, oh, I got an atomic clock in there. It's like, no, you don't. You've got a receiver that actually uses the WWVB 60 kilohertz signal that has an atomic clock to make your clock precise. But most clocks use quartz, and quartz is decent, but it's not the best accurate clock you can get, but it's decent. And the purity of the quartz use is very important. A very good clock would have a very pure quartz. That would help it keep time a lot more. But today it's like it's so cheap, it's like the cheapest thing you can get. The quartz they use is probably like crappy, because today's clocks, they just don't hold time. Like it's crazy. If you guys notice your radios, all your portable radios, the clocks in there are, in 6 months you probably are a couple of minutes off. It's like, it's okay precise, but it's not, just a few weeks. And I remember so many times using my shortwave radios. And what happens is that my shortwave radios are, I put the DC time on them, and then I would use them. And then, you pick one of the portables that you haven't used in 3-4 months. And when you tune, you're like, oh man, I have to reset. I have to set that clock. It's off by 3 minutes, or 4 minutes, if not more. Gary24 fan says, so right now I am 10 minutes behind in the chat, guys. Okay, just to let you know. Gary24 fan, I owned a car that could get AM stereo. I think it was a 1995 Chrysler Cirrus, but not sure if that's when AM stereo was trying to get going or not. AM stereo tried to get going somewhere in the 80s. And I believe by 1995, a lot of stations have probably had already abandoned AM stereo. So Zanzibar, Zenfaros, that Green Witch and Wizard of Oz, actually a cousin of mine. Not sure what that means, but there it is. Joseph, I had a Sony AM stereo radio and didn't work very well. So Larry Gilmore, help with a dollar bet. LB3 pointed a noise source, and it doesn't really matter what direction. You mean an MLA 30? So if you're talking about the MLA 30, you have to position it for the lowest noise possible. So what you're going to do is you plug it to the radio, you look at your noise level, and you turn it so that the radio has the lowest noise possible. So of course, you're tuning in where there's no radio stations. Where it's the lowest noise possible, just leave it like that. It's the best way to actually have it. Eric Atrelli, a Curian HD radio available at Radio Shack years ago could decode AM stereo. It was an undocumented feature. Interesting. Scott Belcher, I'm trying to decide if I'll get more from the Texan H501X or the Ethon Elite Executive with the emergency crank and weather kit with it. I'd have both air and weather bands that way. If you need, weather and all of that, and it's important to you, well, you made your choice. But if that's not the case, Texan H501X is a way better radio than the Ethon Elite Executive in many ways. In many ways. Okay, let's see. So KW61, nice thing about AM stereo was they work very well on DX. Remember picking up WLS in Gitmo, Cuba, while in the U.S. Navy. Wow. Does anyone really know what time it is? Ain't that a song? Paulo Pinto, CT1 ETE. Nice to have you here from Portugal. Hello again, Matt, MDK2. John, nice to have you here from Boston. David, I do have a CQAM medium wave low power transmitter. It's the ASPIS or ASPISYS ASMAX 2 model. Used it on a dummy load and received with my Airspy HF Plus Discovery, which kind of nice. Kind of nice. So we will have two things that actually are going on the wayside: AM stereo, and then the HD radio for AM. Patrick Fitzpatrick, nice to have you here. Yep, cesium for the atomic clocks. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kamagzi76, nice to have you here from West Michigan. Been watching since the beginning of the show, but was just able to get to the keyboard right now. Cool. Carla Icon. Yeah, atomic clocks are extremely precise. They would get, I don't know what's the official rating, but yes, definitely. They are actually precise enough that you can measure, Einstein's theory of relativity when they send out satellites in space, for example. With the speed that they go around the Earth, you can actually measure the very, very, very small difference that the speed that it goes to creates in time, which is very, very cool when you think about it. Zen Faros, I have a CW signal on 175, which has regularly spaced dots, but sometimes 2 dots. Is there a way to look up what that signal is? 175 kilohertz, isn't that kind of some kind of experimental amateur band or something in that region? Because it could be some beacon. Because I don't believe non-directional beacons, I don't think, go below 200 kilohertz, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe it's some beacon of some sort. You should, what I would do is look at or search for long wave beacons or long wave amateur radio beacons. Because I know there's a lot of experimental stuff, but I don't remember. 175 is if it's in the ham band portion of long wave or not. I don't remember. CHU is cooler than WWV because of Canada. Adam, getting back into shortwave after a very long pause. I can't hear much of anything here in Montreal. Is this normal for this time of year? You should be hearing more than much because there's a lot. Don't expect to hear what you heard if you were listening 20 years ago. There's less stations today, but you should hear stuff. I suspect that maybe one of the biggest problems isn't the time of the year, but more the noise level you have around you that's washing out a lot of the stations you could normally hear. That also, for somebody that has been a shortwave listener long time ago and coming back today, that's another problem, is that we didn't have the noise back then that we have now. So it's very, very important. Very, very important. So moving away, you should take that radio and go to a park, or and I go here to a park not far from where I live, and man, it's night and day. There's a lot more stuff to listen to. What radio are you using? Out of curiosity. And 6RLS still have a Sony portable AM stereo. Even in mono mode, it had selectable, very wide audio bandwidth. Made local stations sound almost like FM. Cool. Yeah, it happens. Then yeah, you can often see WWVB and the SDR waterfall. Yeah, since I put the weather station on that wall, it actually synchronizes. I would say about once a week it will synchronize with WWVB. So that's nice, because it means that clock I can actually, use and focus on the fact that it does actually work. It's funny because that clock on that weather station is capable of switching that 1 hour difference between summer and winter time. Only one problem, and the the problem is that it has the old, because you guys remember in North America we switched time at a different moment, and then they changed that. Well, that one is changing only at the old time. So that means that for a couple of weeks, when it changes, I still have 1 hour off for 2 weeks, something like that, before it does the change. KW1161. Yep, GPS systems, they have atomic clocks. They have to. That's the way that they can actually be so precise in their positioning. Jetcrafter MLA30 GE Super Radio test failed. Split coax and attached, but some noise was still there. Yeah, because that's one thing that I didn't think about. The GE Super Radio has a screw, and it's not a plug. So what happens is that most radios that let you use an external antenna will have it will disconnect the internal ferrite, which is not the case which is not the case in the GE Super Radio. That's why you probably still have all that noise. Oh well, like you said, it's worth a try. You never know. You would need a radio that has, you would have had a jack for the antenna that disconnects the internal ferrite for it to work. Darren Rogers, nice to have you on board. KB2AHS from Long Island, New York. Patrick Fitzpatrick, my watch receives signals on 77.5 from Germany. Yep. There are some clocks, absolutely. There's some watches that actually do that also. Absolutely. MDK2, a couple of minutes in 6 months. The clock on my PL600, you'll be a couple of minutes off in 1 week. Wow, mine isn't. I would say in a week. I'd say my PL600. I'm going to test it tonight. Give you an idea. That's something I need to check out. I will take 10 radios that I have. I will all synchronize them perfectly with the time. And next week in the show, if somebody can remind me, hey, did you do that test with the clocks? We're going to check each radio and how off they have become in just 1 week. I think that's going to be a fun thing to do. We'll see which radios, and I suspect that even if you buy 10, for example, like the PL600, I'm sure if you buy 10 PL600s, one will be more precise than the other. One will be completely off, but Man, a couple of minutes in 1 week, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's really not very accurate. That's crazy. Eric J says, want to buy my first radio but can't decide between Texan PL330 and XH Data D808. The decision for that will come in one simple answer. Do you want to have the VHF airband or not? If you do want the VHF airband to listen to local airport or to local planes, XH Data D808 is the choice. If not, I would choose a Texan PL330 for the fact that it's more precise in its tuning, making it easier when you want to tune single sideband, for example. And you can calibrate it. The XH Data has RDS on FM also, if that's something that you need to check out also. John Beckham quartz crystal, as in a crystal radio, or more precise, a galena crystal would most likely be used for the cat's whisker in a crystal radio design. Yeah. MDK2 got an old friend who works for NIST in Boulder, and it was through him that I was able to visit WWV in Fort Collins when it was in their 100th anniversary in 2019. Francis Moore, nice to have you here. And thank you very much. Miguel Element, JM Stereo. I did help that they could not decide on one system, just like VHF. It's true. They were fighting over which that probably killed AM stereo. They were fighting over which system, and there was, if I'm not mistaken, some AM stereo were using one system, and some AM stereo stations were using another system. So that just killed it for sure. At least the VHS and beta war of the days, we settled on one. VHS became the standard. But if I'm not mistaken, I think there were the two systems. So depending on what station they weren't always on the same system. MDK2, if AM stations had adopted stereo in the 70s, the radio landscape might look very different today. It's possible. And 6RLS, amazing that atomic clocks pick up such a ultra low frequency signal with the teeny antennas they use. Well, they're ferrites because they use ferrites. So they use ferrites and they use a receiver that is very, very precisely dedicated to the 60 kilohertz frequency. And I think that helps them tremendously because they don't hear anything on either side. They're very focused on just tuning 60 kilohertz. And, ferrites are impressive antennas. I can tell you that ferrites are often underestimated for, the capability of all the signal it can get. Even, even if it's small, as long as it has a lot of turns of that little tiny wire on it, I can tell you that it's surprising sometimes how good these can be. MDK2, speaking of AM stereo, XFM, which broadcasts in AM, don't take the name too seriously, is planning to transmit in Sequan tonight. Look at 4185 kilohertz at 01 UTC. So I'm going to check that. But yeah, that could be a nice test there. Archer's out of Crafter's Kitchen. They keep trying to develop all these enhanced technologies for AM radio, and they become obsolete before they even catch on. Kind of sends a message the industry never seems to get. Yeah, HD radio is not getting on. And it's sad because HD radio, definitely improves the audio quality of AM radio station. But you know, it's the same. One of those weird things that one of the weird things that I can't understand sometimes in the industry works for that the fact that we don't know. Um, if you listen here in Montreal to CJAD or CKGM Sports, they will never mention. We never hear them mention about HD. First of all, HD radio, so you don't even know. That's the first thing. And there's an FM station I listen to on the Friday evenings because it has a 4-hour show of 80s music, and I kind of like the format. And they have that 103.3 FM has a country music stream on HD2. So anybody that likes country music, it's pretty much the only 24-hour country music station in Montreal. They never talk about it. You will never hear that station mention, oh, by the way, if you have an HD radio, we have on HD2 country music. And I'm like, why? You never talk about it. You what? You're wasting time. Nobody's listening to it because nobody knows it exists. I have a hard time with that. It's like you're broadcasting it, you know? And 6RLS never heard of AM stereo radio with shortwave bands. Was AM stereo on shortwave a thing at one time? Nope. AM stereo never made it to shortwave. And the only AM stereo radios that I've ever seen were either boombox or dedicated AM FM radios, and that's pretty much it. Scott Belcher says, "Wow, okay, thank you, Shell. Yes, I'd like the air band. Weather is in my Subaru here with my XH data, but yes, that Texan H501X seems like a real beast. Yeah, it all depends what you want, honestly. But when you start talking about getting one of those radios, Adam is using a Sony ICF Shortwave 55. Yeah, try maybe putting out a wire outside, just any type of wire, and throw it out through a window or whatever, and see what if that improves. Because today's noise is so high, that might actually help out in getting more signal. Spain being received in Northeast Florida in 9690 kilohertz. As we see here, I'm going to check it out here. 9690 kilohertz, 9.69, Spain. And it is, it's very weak here today. I can barely see it on my waterfall. It's interesting how you guys down south seem to be receiving a lot better than up north. So start by putting a wire outside. Just see what happens if you just put a wire outside the atom. That might be just enough. Okay, the VLF AM band is 135 to 137. So 175. Uh-huh. That's interesting. What's on the 175? Yeah, there are quite a few beacons in that range, that ham radio operators. It's very experimental. Patrick Fitzpatrick, as is mentioned here, most people would choose a radio with no muting when tuning. I don't know if the XH data has muting. Yeah, XH data D808 does mute. Absolutely. The only real choices if you don't want to have muting when you tune around is either you get an older PLL style like the Texan PL680, for example, or you get more expensive, but these don't mute, the PL990 or the H501. These two do not mute. Larry Gilmore had the same problem with buzzing on the street with a leaky power transformer. Went through the whole neighborhood. Oh, man. This is definitely sad when we have all of that noise. So nothing listed on 175 kilohertz. Nope, 383.4 could be a non-directional beacon. The non-directional beacon go up to about 400 kilohertz. I have one here on 407 kilohertz or 406 kilohertz, something like that. 383 could be a non-directional beacon. That would actually, what you should hear is a tone and then Morse code ID. But long-wave beacons go all the way up to 400 kilohertz, even 500. I think there's an NDB at 5. This is Bermuda that has a non-directional beacon at 512 or 514 or so. Steady dot, no variations. Maybe you have some local tones. Maybe it's some local interference, or maybe some birdies coming from the radio, or maybe some device around you that's creating that. What else do we have? Pitches Lab 73. Nice to have you here. Here we go. Let's check that out. Check that out here. We have, for those that want to see the cover of the December edition. Here we go. So let's check that out. Okay, no problem, Sheldon, for the because we really would have a hard time squeezing in that news item because we really were very tight. I even had to shorten a little bit of stuff in order to fit in 30 minutes. So the December Messenger is out for those that are members of the Canadian International DX Club. This is, of course, a great publication. And here is what the cover looks like for the December edition. Let me just check it out here on my tablet. Messenger. Where the hell did it go? I lost it. I lost the Messenger. It should be here somewhere. I get it. Let me just go back here and open it again. Should be okay. Oh, I think I didn't save it. That's why. Okay. Saved. Okay. And here is the December edition of the CIDX Messenger. So that's the cover. To give you an idea, in there you have, of course, headquarters report, managing editor, board of directors report, radio basics, broadcast band stuff, very interesting. That's Miggy Dalmage's QSL column. World of Utilities by myself. Shortwave logbook, free radio scene. We have World of Radio, Glenn Hauser's information of DX shows. Shortwave station resources, DX program guide, not just listening, Uncle Skip's bookshelf, We have Podding Along, Technical Topics, Ham Radio News, CIDX News and Notes, What's News, and the Propagation Report. So that's cool. So here's the first CIDX headquarters report, just to show you guys quickly. So very nice little thing. We have, of course, lots of medium wave logs and information. Very interesting column that Miki Dalmich has. We have the World of Utilities, which is my column. So lots of really cool stuff in here, guys, to check out. And you should definitely ask for a sample copy if you haven't done already, guys, because this is a great publication. What weather station would you say is a good one to buy? The ones that are made by Lacrosse Technology are, in general, very good. I've had pretty much always a good experience with those. I've had several different brands over the years, but the Lacrosse Technology is definitely pretty good. John Beckham, being a shortwave listener, we are all very precise with our time applications, I'm sure. Yeah, pretty sure. KW 1161 175 might be broadcast from the experimental blend. Yeah. GDA Dakota's got one of those little Radio Shack atomic clocks. Patrick Fitzpatrick, talking about losing time, it would be great if this chat was in sync with the stream. It is, but I'm not the one in sync with the stream. What else do we have? Meta Lunar says, forgot about AM stereo. I haven't heard about it in a long time. My father had a car in the 80s that got AM stereo, but I haven't heard AM stereo since then. I think pretty much nobody has AM stereo anymore. Danny says, Joe, would the Texan H501X be capable of RDS on FM by firmware update? I don't think so, because it requires that the display be more of a dot matrix style LCD so that it's capable of displaying any types of characters. If I had a negative comment about the Texan receivers, is really that they've been using the same display style for years, probably to save money. And that display isn't capable of having any of the RDS characters that would, for text, that would go through, unfortunately. So that would not be possible to not because because the receiver itself is capable. The chip, they have one of the stages of the triple conversion uses that DSP chip. They could tap in it to get the RDS because that chip is capable. It's the display was not capable to do it, though. So there were 4 separate complete systems. Well, no wonder nobody was able to do anything about it. Mark Dragger, nice to have you on board. And in a 1988 Lincoln, he had a realistic tuner with stereo. Wow. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Erica Trell, a local AM radio station in Ashland, went full HD. Really? No analog. That is interesting. Huh. Okay. What frequency is the station on, Eric, just out of curiosity? David, I think it would have been great if AM stereo had been adopted for shortwave broadcasting, especially now with less stations. Yeah. What I would be scared, though, is that because of the way that AM, with stereo, the way it works, with propagation, I wonder if it would not induce more distortion in signals. I wonder. Doug Smith from Virginia. Do you like the AM loop antennas C-crane cells? I've never actually took the time to really look at them unfortunately. I don't know if some of you out there have some of them, but what else do we have? Dave Conti, the New York City FM station, used to promote their HD streams, but I haven't heard the mention in years. What else do we have? Larry Gilmore, yes, we were right. Right question. Your dollar is in the mail for your FedEx fund. St. Farrell's, it's not just knowing about HD radio. I don't have a radio that can demodulate it. HD radio requires a royalty on the radio. Well, I've got a radio, an HD radio here, and which is by St. Gian. But nobody, because the stations pay for the royalty. The stations have to pay for HD capability to broadcast HD. That also is probably something that's like, switch it off. We don't have to pay for that anymore. KW1161 says Sony developed a chip that could decode all modes of AM stereo, which was used in their AM stereo radios. They also used the chip in their synchronous radios, such as Sony 2010. So once again, the Messenger Christmas edition for all of those that are members of the CIDX Club. Check it out. It's now available. What else do we have? Mark Jagger, Spain, also weak in southeast Wisconsin. I'm getting there. 10 minutes behind. St. Farrell's S5, pretty audible, 496.90. A bit north of New York City. Vladislav, nice to have you here from Serbia. Belka DX also does not mute while tuning. So we have, what else do we have? Let me check it out. Oh yeah, there are beacons there are channel markers on the top of the medium wave band. Andy New, don't forget Texan S2000 doesn't mute and has airband VHF. James F, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Howard, nice to have you on board from Arizona. JJH 9690 not coming in, although there's an extremely weak signal. Sheldon says, you got an advanced copy. Members will have theirs shortly. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Thanks for my for my special copy. What else do we have? Have you seen this from NIST? National Institute of Science and Technology is currently announcing an upcoming broadcast of a special test modulation signal to help with ionospheric research coordinated by... Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I wanted to look at this, and for some reason, I totally forgot, because I saw somebody talk about it. I'm going to check that out. I'm definitely going to check that out. NIST is participating in a new project to study the ionosphere and its effects on high-frequency radio propagation. As part of the WWV-WWVH Scientific Modulation Working Group, radio stations WWV and WWVH will each broadcast test signals once per hour that will allow operators using a type of software-defined receiver to record the signal data at their location and upload it to a central server for analysis. The test signals will initially consist of several seconds each of Gaussian white noise, chirps varying up and down in frequency, and tones varying in amplitude, frequency, and length. The initial test will help characterize transmitting and receiver equipment and configurations and may be used to determine time of flight measurements of the transmitted signal. The signals will be sent at 8 minutes past each hour on WWV and 48 minutes past each hour on WWVH. Project is coordinated by HAMSci, the Ham Radio Citizen Science Investigation, and includes representatives from the University of Scranton, Case Western Reserve University, Massachusetts Institutes of Technology, Haystack Observatory, University of Alabama, New Jersey Institute of Technology, TAPR, and the WWV Amateur Radio Club. Interested amateur radio operators and others interested in citizen science. So this is kind of cool. 8 minutes on WWV. So that's going to be something to check it out. John says K9BRS, the inaugural official shortwave channel HamNet will kick off at 0 UTC, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight on 7245 kilohertz lower sideband, plus or minus 5 kilohertz, depending if there's some ham activity. So this is going to be cool. I'm going to have my radio on 7245 for sure to listen in. It's going to be kind of nice to check out. And tonight, yes, that's true, Sheldon. Tonight, Texas Radio Shortwave special on Anarch. So that is going to happen tonight. I believe it's at 01 UTC, if I'm not mistaken, 5950 kilohertz. And so it's a Association of North American Radio Club special that the Texas Radio Shortwave is doing tonight. Absolutely. So that's 5950 kilohertz, and I believe it's at 01 UTC. Usually it has a pretty good signal. So that's going to be something also to check for. Frequency 650 kilohertz AM. Okay. Is that station powerful, or it's kind of very local? On 650, it's going to be interesting to check out 650. I'll tune 650 on my HD radio to see if it peeps any little, sometimes it doesn't decode, but it detects that there's something HD. So it blinks the HD logo to say, yeah, there's something HD in here. N6 RLS, there would be monumental issues with the stereo soundstage on shortwave. Might have been interesting, though. Yeah, for sure. That's for sure. Mad Reader DXer, nice to have you on board from the UK. Yeah, I'm sure we probably pay some royalty in the price of the radio. That's for sure. I have an HDR14 and I like it. It's a nice little portable, HD portable. I kind of enjoy the fact that I can actually tune the 107.9 WVPS station out of Vermont. And on HD3, I have a 24-hour BBC World Service stream, which is kind of cool. I like that for that. Jim KN6BRK, nice to have you here from California. Farrell says, I have put a waterfall of signal digital only HD broadcaster on WFAS 1230, White Plains, New York, into the Facebook feed in case someone wants to see what it looks like. Cool. Don WD says, have FCC GMRS rates gone down from $70 to $30 yet? Anybody know? Here in Canada, we don't pay for GMRS, but we don't have the same capabilities also. A standalone SDR receiver, Francis Moore. Probably, I don't know. Probably kind of hard. I would tend to recommend more of, get yourself an AirSpy HF Plus and a small, Windows tablet, and that will be a standalone SDR that would work fine and be a better, and that's my personal opinion, a way better SDR, portable SDR than anything you could buy. That's my 2 cents. Keegan, XN80X, they're nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas and back home. Cool. What else do we have? So 650 is local. Okay. John Beckham, 11780. Sorry, coming in quite well on DCO on our 108 in Northeast Florida. Yep, that is Brazil, 11780. Let's check it out here out of curiosity. 11780 for Brazil. Yeah, it usually comes in well here. It's some music. And not too bad. A little noisy tonight, but I think it's noisy because of the way I set up tonight. It's noisier on the SDR here. Harold Anderson, nice to have you on board. LB1NH. KW161. IBOC was charging $50 per chip. Don't know how. Don't know now. So, Carl Icon, can you pull in 243 megahertz on your SDR? Megahertz? Not on my HF, not on my SPY HF. I would have to use my my SDR player SPDX, but it's on the computer that I'm running the stream, so I don't want to mess up anything. Just in case. Anything special there? 243 megahertz? Wow, WSRO is only 100 watts at night. I don't think that's going to be much of a signal here. I get something on 650, but I don't remember what it is. Our JDA Dakota NPR puts the BBC on lots of its HD3s. So HD3 is the BBC here if you can get it. So I like that. I honestly like that. The fact that I can listen to WBVPS World Service. I think the NPR station 107.9 Burlington, Vermont does BBC World Service on one of the sub channels. Yep, that's what the on HD3 that they have it for my HD radio. That's what I actually listen to. It because 107.9 from Burlington, Vermont comes in extremely well here in Montreal. Actually, what is very interesting is that when they do the fund drives to get some money, they actually get almost as much money from listeners here in Montreal than local listeners there in Burlington, which is kind of interesting. And there was actually a little controversy at some point because they were talking about putting up a FM station in Montreal on 107.9. And that created kind of a stir because a lot of people realized if we put up a station on FM on 107.9, we are now never going to be able to get the Burlington, Vermont NPR station anymore, which is a very surprisingly popular here in Montreal. I'm one of those that listens to the WVPS 107.9 very, very often. I would say when I cook supper around, like 6, 7 p.m., I am tuned to 107.9. I listen to the stuff they have to say, and if it's something I'm not interested in, I move to the BBC stream on HD3. It's kind of my new habit, basically, in the evening, early evening, and listen to the programs there. Sheldon, 650 WSM Nashville. Yeah, that's probably the one I'm getting. because I know I'm hearing something on 650, but I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, that's probably what I'm getting. Nashville, Tennessee must be one of the very strong stations. And there's hard GDA Dakota says WSM usually 650 across the East Coast. Zen Pharaohs, the popping noise you heard on 11780 is a broad pulse that the SDR Sharp broadband noise blanker handles very well. I've heard G7 does decent, but not as well. So it's nice to check that out. Mitch, nice to have you on board, my friend. So we are, of course, talking radio here, and 146. I think we reached 150 at some point watching. Once again, kind of going to have fun in the next few days testing this C-Crane CC Radio 2E and comparing it with other radios to see how well it handles the medium wave band and how superior it is to some of the radios out there. So this is going to be kind of cool to test out. I can't believe how heavy this radio is with the batteries. It's just incredible. Sheldon says, mission accomplished. The messenger has now been emailed to all CIDX members. Danny Shortwave, can you pick up WNYC at 8:20? That is a NPR during the day and BBC station overnight. I definitely hear something on 8:20, and I would guess it's WNYC, probably, but I do get something on 8:20. I don't know the call letters if that's the one. John Beckham, I have noticed that today's shortwave stations use lots of relay broadcasting habits as compared to many years ago, but I assume that this type of shortwave broadcasting is more cost efficient. Oh, totally. The cost of owning your own transmitters and antenna field, you have to have an engineer, you have to have, all the cost of the electricity that goes with it, the maintenance, the repairs that need to be done. It is much more cost efficient to just say, hey, I'm going to rent airtime over WRMI, and compared to running your own transmitter site. And that, one thing that I find sad is that it's sad it didn't catch on more way before. And one of the reasons is that if there would have been more relays done earlier on, I think some shortwave stations would definitely have more stayed on the shortwave, because they would have seen that, okay, it's maybe too costly to own our own transmitter site, but we can maybe broadcast via a relay, which costs almost nothing compared. So that would have been nice. I find that it's really cool that WRMI has at least all of the relays and all of that relay of different stations going on, because it first of all, it helps tremendously here in North America, where most stations have abandoned us as a target audience. Well, it gives us the possibility to hear some of these stations. I listen to Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia. I listen to Radio Tirana. Plus all the other types of programming that they have that are, not necessarily radio stations themselves, but more like podcasts that are done for with relays. Thank God for WRMI, because remove that, we'd have some really lonely evenings on shortwave if you on the international broadcast bands. I can tell you that. But it is way more cost efficient, absolutely. And it's interesting, stations like Radio Prague and Radio Slovakia. They understood that, what, relays, we could use relays. It doesn't cost a lot of money compared to when they own their own transmitter sites. And it maintains a presence on shortwave. We say it again and again. A lot of stations that left, some of the stations that left and came back, like Radio Prague with relays, for example. I still remember they were saying at one point that when they left, because that's a great example. When people tell me the internet is what's killing shortwave, the great example is here. Radio Prague had mentioned that when they had left shortwave, they lost their audience. You would have think, oh well, everybody's listening on the internet. Nope. And they had their daily programs on the internet. You could download their podcasts. And they said they lost pretty much all of their audience. Nobody was actually listening really on the internet. And that is why they had decided to come back and to pay for relays of WRMI, because they had realized that, nope, if you're not on shortwave, no one listens to you on the internet. That's all. And, there's a handful of people that will do it, actually. That's the thing. What else do we have? Mobile Armored Strike Command received in the mail today the QRZ 100 U.S. Counties Award. Congratulations. Milky Delmage has the messenger. Sheldon says 820 CHAM Hamilton is more likely in Montreal. Haha. Okay. Eric Cottrell got the messenger. Woohoo! Kamaxi 1976 got his messenger. John Beckham, thanks for the Secret Radio review today. Yeah, well, it's not a review yet because I need to really test it. But it's my first impressions, at least, for the radio now. Keegan says closest NPR station with the BBC World Service here in Northwest Arkansas is KWJS in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And has also heard the BBC World Service on other NPR stations in St. Louis via Tropo DX. Greg Walker, what company produces the C radio for Crane? Is it Sangean? I don't know about this one, but I know that, for example, the C Crane CC Skywave SSB is made by Redson, which is a Chinese company. And even the Sangean is made in China. So I think they're made by these most of the big Chinese radio companies. But the C Crane, I know the Skywave SSB was made by Redson. I don't know who makes the CC Radio 2E. Jeff Williams, nice to have you on board from Cornwall, UK. John Beckham says more relays and more stations, right? I'm sure that you're right. I would think so. If that would have caught on sooner, that would have been. I think some stations that left might still be on the air today because they would have found a cheap way to stay on shortwave. Marcel, nice to have you on board. We have Sanfaro says 820 here is more than one station. Sometimes it's WNYC, but often it's two on top of each other. Radio Romania also streams their program on TuneIn, also here on my internet radio. Yeah, I know. The Radio Romania does stream their program online. Rifleman 336 got his CIDX messenger. Woohoo! Some radio reading tonight. Mobile Armor Strike Command on his DX160 picked up WWV in 15 megahertz. What else do we have? South Korea and Taiwan I remember in the 80s when we looked at the Radio Shack stuff, a lot of it was done in Taiwan, a lot of it done in South Korea. That seemed to be the places where those were done back then. David says, "Yep, it seems externalization is particularly an economically viable option nowadays. Not only on shortwave relays, but I'd say that I'd say that's already a quite extended practice in many other fields." Yep. John Beckham, I believe that Sanjian made lots of Radio Shack's shortwave portables years ago. Sanjian did make some of them. There were quite a few that were actually branded Radio Shack, but were Sanjian radios. Sanjian radios. So, Francis, if you want to subscribe to the Messenger, what you do is you have to ask. So, if you never ask for a sample copy, you can ask for one at CIDX Club at Yahoo. I'm going to send it here. .com. And ask for a sample. And if you like it, you can subscribe. It's $10 a year, $25 to 3 years. And it's a CIDX Messenger. But yes, Sanjian did make some of the Radio Shack portables. So there were, I don't know how many different manufacturers were actually making radios for Radio Shack back then. I know their scanner line of receivers, a lot of them were made by GRE. So depending on what model it was, some were made by Uniden. It was pretty. Harold Anderson. Anybody remember Radio Caroline? There was they were sending from a boat. Yep, in the 70s. And yeah, they're also on AM. They're officially licensed now. They're officially licensed. What is it? 648 kilohertz in the UK. Radio Pluggle. What's your thoughts on AOR receivers? Look, I have never owned AOR receivers. I've seen a lot of them over the years. They seem to be well built, and some models seem to be very good performers. But I can't talk much about AOR because I've never really owned any of their receivers. And 6RLS CIDX Messenger is in and being read. Cool. To Brooke Tim, in the late 60s, I remember Radio Hanoi calling us capitalist running dogs. A lot of the stations were extremely extremists in their programming back then. You know, it's like listening to Radio Peking on, Radio Peking is was pretty, they're talking about Mao, and they had a little red book. There were quite a few of these stations, like the Radio Tirana, which is so harsh kind of programming. That was something too. Man, Radio DXer says, I suppose with Radio Shack radios, they were made at the same factory as Sanjian, but with different branding. Yeah, definitely. It would be that line would separate, and it's like, well, that's going to be branded Radio Shack Realistic, or whatever. And some radios had so many different brands that I always was surprised that you'd see a Roberts receiver, a Sanjian receiver, a Radio Shack receiver, and a Realistic receiver, and even other brands that I had no idea they existed. And you look at them all, and it's like, it's all the same radio. They took that radio and branded like at 11 different brands, but it's the same exact thing. That happened a lot. Dave, some of the St. Jean radios were branded realistic for Radio Shack in the US and Roberts in the UK. Yeah, that's an example. That's an example. Carl Icon, ever notice many of the religious broadcasters never say the time or their call sign? Bet those aren't live, just recording. Most of them are recording. Most of them are recording. Absolutely. No, there's very few live stuff in there. Most of it is pre-recorded and just put on the air. Sheldon Harvey, if you want to hear old time style top 40 radio tonight, tune to WABC 770 New York, celebrating 100 years of radio, playing pop music requests the way top 40 sounded when I was a kid. So that's going to be cool. So it's WABC 770 New York tonight, celebrating 100 years with top 40 radio. Rifleman 336, some examples of Radio Shack shortwave radios made by St. Jean. DX390, 92, St. Jean 818 and 818 CS, and the DX398, which was the ATS 909 Generation 1. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Doug Smith, is there a big enough market for shortwave radios for a pricier upscale receiver that could be built in North America? I would say no to that, honestly, because there's people already have a hard time paying the price for $100 or $200 radio. And so I would not see any radio like that would actually work. And the competition is still there. I mean, if you have because honestly, a Texan H501X is a high end portable, and that's 298 US. It would be difficult to have better than the Texan H501X, anyways. And a Texan H501X made in North America would probably cost $1,000. So competition's there, and people don't want to pay for the radios today. Most people just want to, you know, just want to pay the minimum possible for something that's decent. And a lot of what we buy today, that's what we want to do. We want something decent for the lowest price possible. So that's why it's not made here anymore. Scott Belcher would cry, I could have totally been so rich. I tried to patent the radio clock, atomic clock idea, but being just out of HD, I didn't have. Man. Marcel Radio Caroline can be heard well here in the Netherlands, unfortunately only during the day. I think it's 648 kilohertz, if I'm not mistaken. Chris Powell, nice to have you on board from Minneapolis, AE0IY. St. Pharaoh's Radio Toronto achieved a texture that has never been duplicated. Yeah, that was something. Greg Walker, are there any radio sets made in North America anymore, like Drake, Harris, Collins, Zenith? I believe the very high-end, very, very expensive stuff. There's a couple of manufacturers that are still in the U.S., but they're very expensive high-end radios. There's what's the name of it? I'm searching the name of the company. Is it Tentec? There's they're very expensive stuff. It's out of the reach for most people, probably. Sheldon says WABC booming in here in Montreal on this CC Cranes CC Radio 2E. You took yours out now? Let me try it here. It's very noisy because I'm with all the 770. Let's go there. 770. Getting in. Yep. Wow, this radio has very, very nice audio, I can tell you that. So yeah, playing those oldies. I can hear it, even though it's noisy in my room. Coming in quite well. What else do we have here? Oh, this is good. This is good. Dave, the secondhand radio market has gone absolutely crazy. They seem to be valued way above what the market will bring. It's not worth. That's why I always say it's not worth it to get an old radio. Better buy a new one. Christian Fitzharris yesterday was scanning and heard Supreme Master playing a clowning show and heard myself in my own clown act during Cirque du Soleil. What are the odds? Things happen. Things like that happen. Mickey Delmage, my Radio Shack SX190 is branded Allied. Unfortunately, the SJ622 failed after quite a short amount of time. Now it's in a disassembled state in a plastic bag somewhere. Youch. Kodak on Radio Shack radio I bought in the late 90s has custom manufactured in China. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's the 90s. In the 90s, the Chinese manufacturing started to really start to show up and be intense. So what else do we have? John Beckham. Here's one for all of us out here on the podcast who remembers the brand Juliette. Yeah. He made a couple of AM FM shortwave portables. Yeah, those were so cheap crap, I remember. Candle. I remember seeing a Candle branded shortwave radio. That thing didn't last. What else do we have? So, yep, coming in the WABC. Pretty strong signal on 11780 from Brazil here. Harold Anderson, 648, Radio Caroline, spot on. Cool. Have a good memory. Dilbrook Tim, Radio Havana. Oh, that's shortwave, part of what shortwave is all about, propaganda. Harold Anderson listening to it now. Ellercraft makes ham radios in California. Flex also makes them in the U.S. So yeah, there's a couple of those that's still made in the U.S., but they're very expensive radios or transceivers. St. Pharaoh 770 WABC booms in here because I'm in their backyard. Oddly enough, playing one of their few songs, Suspicion, that were covered. Sorry. What else do we have? And 6RLS anywhere here or had one of those select antenna accessories for AM reception? Sheldon has one. Select antenna. There's a loop antenna enclosed in plastic with a tuning capacitor. Yeah, I think Sheldon has one. The select antenna. Totally. What else do we have? Dwayne says 10 Tech made in Tennessee. What else do we have? Yeah, Uniden and GRE made VHF UHF scanner for the Radio Shack at the time. And if you looked, even a little later, if you looked at GRE when they, because GRE doesn't exist anymore, I believe. It's purchased by Uniden. When you looked at the GRE scanners, what they sold, you would immediately recognize Radio Shack scanners. Paulo Pinto is using a Flex Radio 6400M. Tentec went out of business now. Okay. Sheldon Harvey says using the Select antenna right now with the C-Crane radio. Cool. Because then Farrow says Tentec still makes receivers in the US. The RX330 and RX340. Toobrook Tim, Radio Shack suffer from bad management. They should be a powerhouse in today's world. You know, one of the biggest problems of Radio Shack is they tried to become what we just didn't want it to become. Why would we go to Radio Shack back in when we were, in the good old days? Because it was different. It was the, radio electronics geek, candy store. We would go there and just drool over everything we would see in the store. And as time went by, they started being way too mainstream. And when they started selling cell phones, like general cell phones like everybody else and so on, it's like, okay, no, you just lost us here. And they had less and less of everything we liked, more and more of everything we just don't like. I didn't go to Radio Shack, even though they sold TVs and some more general stuff that people buy. That's not what I was looking at. In the 80s, I don't think I ever looked at a TV at Radio Shack. I looked at all the other stuff and radios and the electronic stuff they had, the gadgets, but never the mainstream stuff. I never look. And when they became too mainstream, they lost the core business that they had. They lost us. We wouldn't go there much, and we wouldn't find anything interesting anymore. So Greg Walker, what company makes the MLA30 loop? Nobody knows. It's some Chinese manufacturer somewhere. We don't really know who makes the MLA30, honestly. But all we know is pretty good. GRE became Whistler. Okay, Rickatraw. Yeah, that David says a loop antenna enclosed in plastic with a tuning encoder sounds pretty much like the Texan AN200 to me. Same style. And Faro Select antenna is as good as the Texan AN200, but doesn't have the convenient jack. Oh, man. Look at that thing. David KJ4CMY, WABC was a top 40 stations in the 60s and 70s. It was very interesting yesterday when we recorded the International Radio Report. We started talking about some of the local stations there in Montreal. It was very interesting. Found out a few things I didn't even know. One of them we talked about was CKLM, which was a station on 1570 kilohertz that was in Laval. And we came on the subject because they had in the 80s, in the early 80s, they had a request show. You would call in and request your songs, and I'd be one of those that called in regularly. But they also had a feature where a listener can do a little ID of the station, and they would use that listener's ID on the air for a few weeks. And one day I called in for my request on the station, and the guy at the other end said, you got a pretty nice voice. Would you like to make an ID for our station for the next few weeks? And I said, yeah, sure. And he told me exactly what phrase to say. And I practiced it a little bit while the song was playing. And I was the ID for a few weeks. And I would listen to the station all day long to make sure I can hear my name and hear the ID of CKLM 1570. But it was interesting because I came on to the Wikipedia page with the history of the station. And man, it was very interesting to see the history of that station and how it ended. They left the medium wave band. They actually were shut down. Actually, the CRTC at the time had requested that they go off the air in 1994 on I think it was 17th of May, and they actually defied. They continued, but 3 days later, on the 20th, a lightning strike struck the transmitter, and that was the end of the station. But they were like going bankrupt. But this was interesting to see some of the history of those stations, and there's so many stations out there that must have an amazing history to learn about, and how they started, and how both stations that exist till today, and stations that are um it's pretty cool to see that history, and read about how things change over time and so on. John Beckham, back in the good old days of shortwave radio listening, I can remember all the English language broadcasts beamed to East Coast of North America. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was prime time. Those stations were broadcasting to us in the evening. Rifleman 336, Jerry went bankrupt. Was bought by Whistler Radar Detector Company, and does most of the current line of line is old GRE infrastructure. Yep, there's computers. Radio Shack, the computers at the time, pretty crazy. There's other Crafter's Kitchen, cell phones killed Radio Shack. Palo Pinto, Greenwich satellite radios made in Portugal in the 90s. Sean Harvey, check for the WWV test at 8 minutes past the hour. Yeah, we're going to check that. I'm going to tune it immediately so I don't forget. Let's find out what frequency is the best. Does 15 come in? Nope. 10. Not getting much of a good reception of WWV right now. 5. I am not getting good WWV right now. 10 is in the noise. It's there, but in the noise. We'll keep it there and we'll see how it goes. At 8 minutes, we'll see what type of sounds and stuff that they broadcast. And 6 RLS Radio Shack actually sold blank recordable 8-track tapes long after 8-track was history. No, I think the 10 tech are receivers, not transceivers, I believe. And you're the DXer, shame about GRE. I have a cheap scanner from them, still works, and it is very sensitive. They were pretty good. The GRE scanners were pretty good, honestly. A lot of the models were really nice. Joseph, about the best portable scanner around. It depends what you want to listen to. If you want to listen to the digital stuff and trunk stuff and all of that, there's a few models that are. I know AOR has a few models that are highly rated. Uniden has a couple of models also with some decoding stuff. But if it's just to listen and you don't really care about the digital stuff, you got to use cheap one. I'd probably never buy a scanner radio today, pretty much because of the way that side of the radio is going. You never know when something you're listening to might change into some encryption form and forget it. Oh man, realistic chromium dioxide recording cassettes. Oh man, all of these things. Yeah, well, that's why somebody asked me once. Some of the bands that we have, RJDA Dakota says, "Can remember the '70s and '80s on shortwave where you couldn't fit more stations on those bands." And that's when they had started discussions and having the new shortwave bands like the one at 18, the top of the 18 megahertz range up to 19 megahertz. Actually, when Radio Australia closed, they were actually using 19,000 kilohertz for a while. So some of the bands that were added, even 22 meters was added late and expanded, because there's just too much. There's so many stations on the shortwave bands that it just was crazy. There's everybody was like 5 kilohertz apart, and that's it. Rifleman 336, never buy a TV from Radio Shack. They were made by names like Sony, but strip out features and ask for cheaper quality components. Bobby Burgess, about Texas radio, I don't mind the frequency, but if WRMI can do it, they can put them in a different time and day, because the one on Sunday conflicts with KBC on 5960. Yeah, I never listened to KBC. I'm not fond of listening to music shows in general on shortwave. So personally, but yeah, it's funny because you look at that and today you're like, well, there's so many other time slots where there's nothing on that something could be at a different time or a different, for sure. It's always, especially when you like a specific program and you're like, oh man, I'd like to listen to that too, but they're at the same time, which is funny because in the '80s, in the '70s, everything was like that. It's like you had to, and I remember tuning in the '80s, and it was like, okay, I gotta have to choose what station I'm gonna listen to tonight. Am I gonna listen to Radio Canada International, to the BBC, to Radio Berlin, to Radio Moscow, to whatever? They were all there at the same time. It's like, you got to choose which one you're going to listen to. You got to choose one. But and then you had, I remember I had kind of my habits of okay, well, I know that on Tuesday is the mailback show on Radio Berlin, so I'm going to listen to Radio Berlin tonight. And some other day, I'm going to listen to another station, and so on. Zen Pharaoh's candidate for weirdest radio program from format outside of the Russian military, WFED, which is dedicated to programming about the bureaucracy of the U.S. federal government and government employees. Oh, man. Tobruk Tim, Grundig S350 was made in Germany. I don't think it was. I don't think they ever made the S350 in Germany. It was made in China. I'm pretty sure most of them were made in China. Said that I can't have a really decent receive of WWV anywhere. Seems to be that 5 megahertz. Maybe 5 megahertz. Try to hear the sweeping tones and stuff of WWV. Yeah, 5 megahertz seems to be the best bet here. I'm going to try that at 8 minutes. Yeah, radio owl. So if you guys want to hear the tones and the sweeps and the stuff at 8 minutes past the hour on WWV, you can check it out. WF7I Homebrew says there are no geek stores at U.S. shopping malls anymore. I used to go to Radio Shack or Discovery Channel store while wife shopped for clothes. What's a geek to do? Apple store, not the same. Nah, it ain't the same. We, I liked going to the when I would go to the shopping mall with my sister, which I always wanted to go to a million stores. I'm the kind of guy that goes to get something and gets out. And she would spend the whole afternoon with, at least I could go to I'd go to the Radio Shack and look at the stuff. At least there was a store I could go to. Joseph, I guess when you violate Canadian radio laws, you get struck by lightning. The funniest thing is, I when I was talking with Sheldon about that, is that on May 17th, they were ordered to shut down, and on May 20th, lightning strike. And I said, wow, the CRTC was powerful back then. Keegan has 10 megahertz. Yeah, Radio Hour is pretty surprising what they do. I gotta say. Jetcrafter says, I lost all interest going to the Radio Shack when I started getting hounded by salesmen pushing cell phones. When you step in the door, it was awful. Yeah, I remember I'd go in, and when they would look at me, I would just say, leave me alone, okay? I want to check stuff, and I'm not looking for anything particular. I'm just looking at stuff. Palo Pinto, the tentacular transceivers, okay. Thought they were just receivers. Dwayne, did Sanjian fix the problem with the deaf antenna when they came out with the X2? Yeah, the X2 seems to be okay with the telescopic. Yes. So, very weak, but let's see if I can hear something. I'm going to retry quickly. 15. Nothing on 15. Oh, yeah, I'm hearing the tones. Yeah, hearing the sweeps. Oh, look at that in the waterfall, the display that it does. Nice little... that reminds me of when Amanda Dawn Christie had done her harp art testing. It was kind of nice. So yeah, I could. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to try again tonight and record it with the to put on the channel when the signal to WWV gets better on one of the frequencies. But I heard the sweeps and the tones here. Take care, Francis Moore. Thomas Tomorrow, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Is there anything I need to know if I use rechargeable batteries as opposed to alkaline batteries and the Texan H501? Well, the H501 uses lithium-ion batteries. They're rechargeable batteries. So you can't use alkaline batteries. The Texan H501 uses 18650 lithium ion batteries, rechargeable batteries in it. Thomas. RGA code at 19 megahertz, amazing signal through and super clear. Yep. John Beckham, propagation of CB citizens band skip was great over the end of November as a general rule. Always listening to CBers on CODON R108. MDK2. Decent signal being copied in 9745 in Colorado. Maybe China National Radio or RTI in Vietnamese. Sadly, I'm not proficient. Yeah, there's a few languages that I have a hard time distinguishing. I got to say Vietnamese and Cantonese. I probably would not be able to, I would not make a difference, that's for sure. RJ code in North America was spoiled with all the FM stuff for a while, and still I find I'm listening to music on shortwave because of the lack of variety. Oh, the variety of music on FM is horrible. That's crazy. That's crazy. Joseph, WWV elusive today, propagation a little sketchy. So it keeps changing. Now 10K is the best. Zenfaros, one thing I like about this live stream is that it makes it easier knowing that you can't get WWV any better than I can. When I have trouble, I always assume it's just great for everyone else. No, you can't assume that. You can't assume that. It's it could be, one part of the somebody somewhere will have it nice, but somebody somewhere will have it bad, and it's not because you hear it that somebody else hears it, and it's not because you don't hear it that everybody else necessarily hears it. It's not the case. We can't assume that for sure. Oh man, a local station with Brother Star, I'd go crazy. I'd call the CRTC and say, "Hey, what's that? I want to complain about station." Our Dodd, nice to have you here. K2 ADC in New Jersey. John Beckett, I understand that there are a few remote Radio Shack stores still out there from what there's a few kind of independent that still exists. Absolutely. Whatever happened to World Band Radio? Sirius stopped carrying their programming. I don't know. What else do we have? And 6RLS is hearing WWVH. Didn't hear the male voice. So if you're hearing WWVH, they have the same test with sweeps on at the 48 minute. So if you hear WWVH in Hawaii, 48 minute, you'll have the same tones and sweeps. So that should come in also. Joseph says, my wife's Cantonese. She says they sound really similar, so that's pretty good, actually. Keegan, sweeps and tones, 5,000 WWV. Remind me of when I heard 600 WBOB, Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, AM tests, like listening to a station's AM test stations. Oh man, yeah, Radio Netherlands. That was that interval signal would really, really be something that would go through shortwave. Can tell you that. Dave T, enjoying the show from Melbourne. Has a fantastic night tuning the bands to 1:30 a.m. They were jam packed. Bobby Burgess, TRT Voice of Turkey missing on 5960. Yeah, they're missing all the time. I would, I would say every few days they're missing. I don't see any peep of a signal here. And the other, when was it? A couple of weeks ago. They instead of shutting down, they kept going, and you could hear Turkish music at the same time as you were hearing um, as KBC was there. It was like they're mixing in together here. Thomas Tamaro, Texan 2000. I was dipping into eggnog. um, mm, 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 mm. Singer writer, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. What else do we have? Scott Belcher, Jill only getting Brother Stereotypes that in Cuba over and over. Sometimes, yeah. Here, I'd say the worst would probably be listening in late morning to early afternoon, because all I hear is either stare or any just religious stuff on the multiple frequencies of WWCR that I hear very well here. And WBCQ lately has been like, it seems like there have been 24 hours on 4790, 6160, 7490 with Brother Stare all simultaneous. And it's like, oh God, please, please. So, and 6 hour list. That explains why the sweeps and tones were weak at 08. I'll try again at 48. Yep, 48. You'll hear the ones from Hawaii if you hear Hawaii better. Artist Under Kratz's Kitchen. I got pounded by the online Radio Shack before and on Black Friday with email offers. They are selling hats and t-shirts with the classic Radio Shack logo. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, I'd like to have one of those t-shirts, maybe. I should get a few t-shirts of like old stuff from, I'd like to have a Grundig t-shirt and maybe a realistic t-shirt, and maybe that could be cool. I should go to the local place here that actually makes custom t-shirts and prepare myself some logos and stuff that I could have made by them. You'll check it out. So we've been on for what, 3 hours and 17. I'm starting to get hungry. Don't forget that on 7245 lower sideband at 0 UTC plus or minus 5 kilohertz on the frequency, there's the first official SWL channel net tonight. So 0 hours universal time. That's in 45 minutes from now. 7245 kilohertz lower sideband plus or minus 5. And I want to thank all the hams that have talked about it and will be participating. And well, tonight there's some stuff to check out. The of course, Anarch special Anarch show from Texas Radio Shortwave at 01 UT on 5950 kilohertz. That's going to be interesting to listen to, I'm pretty sure. So there's quite a few little things to check out and to tune around. And don't forget, through the night, if you didn't hear it now, check WWV frequencies at 8 minutes past the hour for the tones and the sweeps and the testing. And if you hear Hawaii, it's at the 48th minute that they do this. So it's kind of interesting. So this is going to be a cool radio night to check out. And this is going to be very, very cool. Yeah, 5995 is Mali usually. Absolutely. It's coming in here. Yeah, it's coming in here. 5995 is Radio TV Malienne. And 5990, just next to it is China Radio from Cuba, I believe. So take care, everybody. Texas Radio Shortwave Special ANARC show tonight at 01 UT 5950 kilohertz. Check that out. So lots of stuff to listen to. The Shortwave Net at 0 UT also. And hope that you're going to have a radio evening. I'm going to go and cook my food. I'm having pasta puttanesca and a little salad, and then, of course, some radio. Saturday night is my radio night, so it's going to be radio all evening tonight, and trying to listen to all the stuff that is on the air. So stay safe, everyone. Take care, and I want to check it out. I want to have a Radio Shack T-shirt. I'm definitely going to check it out. So take care, everybody. Hope that you enjoyed the show today, and stay safe, my friends. We're going to be back on Wednesday, as usual. And Bunny Boy, nice to have you here from Ontario. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. It was a fun show today. Really a lot of fun to talk about all the different things radio-related and all the stuff to check out. So tonight, once again, before I say goodbye, don't forget that there's the official SWL channel net, 7245 kilohertz plus or minus 5 kilohertz, lower sideband at 0 UTC. There's the Texas Radio Shortwave ANARC special on 5950 kilohertz at 01 UTC. And there's these tones and sweeps test being done from WWV on at the 8th minute on their frequencies, and WWVH on the 48th minute. That actually can also help us hear WWVH even if it's in the background. Know that you can receive it. So take care, everybody. Stay safe, and see you next Wednesday or next Saturday. Bye-bye.